When you think of a smooth reel and sensitive rod, you typically also think of high price points. But in today's video, we're gonna talk about an exception to that rule. And the exception to that rule that we're gonna be talking about today is this guy right here. This is the Okuma Salilo spinning rod paired up with the Daiwa Revros LT spinning reel. Both of them together are coming in at 90 to 100 bucks. In today's video, we're gonna talk about what I like about this setup, what I don't like about this setup, and hopefully we're gonna catch a couple fish along the way. So stay tuned, let's go find some fish. All right, let's catch some fish here. I actually purposely picked this spot specifically because there are some areas that have some tight casts, and these fish are also a little bit pickier, and it's kind of just overall, it can be a little bit of a tricky fishery, and you have to have decent gear to be successful in a spot like this. And that's why I think this would be a great place to test out this, this overall combo, but specifically in this case here, it's the rod. The Okuma Salilo features 10 different models ranging in a whole bunch of lengths and powers, giving everyone a choice of their preferred size. It has a graphite composite blank, decent quality guides, and a full cork construction. On Okuma's website, they also state that it comes with a 1-year limited warranty. With trout fishing, I'm definitely a believer that the rod is more important than the reel. Not all the time, but for the most part, I think the rod is more important. Oh, there we are. That was quick. Wow, that was awesome. That was right away too. Cool. All right, we're gonna bring him down over here. I was not expecting it to be that quick, actually. We're gonna have some soaked boots, folks, but that's okay. Come here, little buddy. Look at that. Super neat. Just a little guy right there. Get them unhooked. We have some spots here that we're going to be fishing bait. This is the spot that we're fishing a float rig with a little bit of shrimp, but then there's also a couple spots. We'll let him go here. There's a couple spots that are a little bit slower water, and in that case, we're gonna go in with a little mini jig. So hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate both of those spots here in today's video so that you guys you can kind of see both in action. Now, this is actually the newest Salilo. I actually have a couple of the older model. The older model is like a maroon color versus this one comes in with more of a all gray and black, but they both have the full cork handle, which I really like. I personally like the full cork better than a split grip. And I just love overall, I love the blank. I love the bend of this rod. I think for $30, it doesn't feel like a lot of those other really cheap rods that are on the market. In general, for trout rods, I like a 6 to 7 foot. Now in a case like this where we're fishing, right, it's probably, having a little shorter of a rod wouldn't be a bad thing. However, overall, just to get longer casts and play larger fish, I typically like to go closer to that 7 foot range. The rod I have today is I believe it's a 6 foot. Let's see here. Yes, this is a 6 foot ultralight, which I think for the body of water that I'm fishing today, I don't think I could have a better rod for the job. Yeah, I don't want to get tangled up. All right, well, we got plenty of water here, so we will keep moving. Let's get down here. There we are, little guy. I had a feeling there was fish in this little spot. Oh, that's a wild fish too. Cool. We'll take that. We got a lot of stalkers in here, but there is a mix of some wild fish, like the little guy we got right here. Look at that. That is a super pretty fish, hooked right in that corner, and there he goes. The Revros LT packs a punch with all the features that Daiwa threw into this reel. They gave it a Zion V body for durability and the air drive system for super smooth reeling. This is why Daiwa made the LT series, as the LT stands for light and tough. This is just one of those reels that feels so much nicer than what it actually costs. Coming in at like that $50 to $60 mark, it's just crazy how this reel feels like what a $100, $200 reel felt like just 5 to 10 7 years ago. You know, the amount of technology that Daiwa has passed on into some of their, you know, their lower budget reels is just crazy. And especially with that air drive and some of that stuff going on with the handle and the spool and the drag, everything about this reel is just, it feels high end, and it's not, which is just so crazy. Now, the one that I have in my hands here, this is a 1000 sized. I think for trout, the 1000 is going to be perfect. That's going to be perfect as well for your panfish, your crappie, bluegill, stuff like that. The one gripe I have on this reel in terms of, like, you know, fish species is that you really don't want to target anything that rips a lot of line, because these have very small spools. The spool is very thin on these, and I feel like if you're trying to use this for steelhead or something that's going to rip a lot of line potentially, it's not going to be your best option for that. I don't see why you couldn't use this though for trout, crappie, bass, anything like that, and ever be worried about the spool, especially if you're fishing braid like I am today. Braid is much thinner, and you're able to get away with a little more on a setup like this. All right. There's got to be some decent fish in here. Ooh, that fish crushed it. Dang. Holy smokes, that fish hammered that float. This is one of those scenarios where having an ultralight is definitely going to help, because this is kind of fast water and this fish is going to eat it really quick. So having a rod with a little bit more bend and kind of, you know, shock absorbent, right, you know, on that fish, so that, you know, you're not just ripping it right out of their, you know, right out of their mouth. You actually have a little bit of give and take in there too. And that's why I love fishing ultralights. I love a light rod for larger trout for sure. But for what we're doing today, I don't think anything beats an ultralight. Okay. We're in the zone. We're in the hole. He's got it. There we are. That's him. Probably. I'm thinking that was the fish that was sitting there. Oh, cool. He was sitting this right, I mean, that was pretty textbook was where he was at. You know, it was that right between that fast and slow water. He was just sitting right in that little difference between the two. Come here, buddy. This is definitely a stocked fish for sure. There we are, folks. Beautiful little fish right there. He's got a couple little copepods on him, which is kind of odd this time of year, but he hammered that thing, man. I mean, every single time that thing got even close to him in that pool, he just hit it over and over. And my guess is there's a couple fish in there. He's probably not the only one that was hanging out in there, but that's cool. Let's get him unhooked here and send him back. There we are. Little guy. For this little body of water though, that's a decent fish. Send him on his way. Cool. If you guys want to see some more reels that are very similar to the one that I fished with today, I'll put that right here for you. If you guys want to see a couple other awesome rods that would work well in this combo, I'll put that video here for you. Hopefully you guys got something out of today's episode. Hopefully you learned something. We'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.